All right, what's going on, everybody? Eric Bourassa here, and today I want to help you decide if buying a Parker Fly or a Parker Nitefly, a Parker guitar, is right for you. Is it a better option than buying a Fender Strat or a Paul Reed Smith or a Gibson or something along those lines? And I think there's a lot to unpack here. Okay, so this is a message I received from my website recently asking about my opinion on buying a Parker guitar. Is it even a good idea? Does it work for this kind of music? Here is what he wrote. Not sure if this will get to you, Eric, but I wanted your opinion on which model in the Parker family would be best suited for playing Grateful Dead. Someone told me I was better off getting a Fender or PRS, but all I ever hear is how versatile the Parkers are. And so this is what I responded with. Hey Jesse, the Parker Nitefly is the most versatile Parker guitar I've owned. It sounds as good as the Fly, and it's considerably more affordable, but still USA. It's also a bit easier for a luthier to work on, which is important to consider since they're not made anymore. But a Fender USA or PRS would get the job done equally well. It really comes down to what you like the most. Okay, so there's a lot there. The first question you have to ask yourself is, do you like the Parker guitars? If like the first time I saw one was from guitarist Dave Martone when he was interviewing Joe Satriani, and I had never heard of him. Obviously, I had been following Satriani for forever, but I saw this Dave Martone guy, and I was like, what guitar is that? I was like, whatever that is so cool, and I have to have one. So if that is your immediate reaction when you see a Parker guitar, and you're in that camp like me, then absolutely you should get one. They're amazing guitars. But if you look at one and aesthetically, you're just like, that's stupid, that's dumb. There are other guitars I can get that sound and play as well for half the cost. Then definitely don't get one. Let's talk about kind of the pros and cons of buying a Parker guitar in the first place. Number one, the pros of the Parker, for me, aesthetically, I think they look really cool. The Parker Fly especially, but also the Parker Nitefly is a pretty cool looking guitar. Not quite as sexy as like a Fender Strat, but it's a cool looking guitar. So there's that. Number two, there's the versatility of it. The Parker Nitefly in particular, I think, is one of the most versatile guitars. It's essentially a Strat that is humbucker, single coil, and two single coils. So you can get a lot of different tones just with that. Now, you can also do that with a Strat, a lot of times with a Paul Reed Smith or a Music Man. And there's a lot of different guitars that can have that versatility. But the Parker Nitefly is definitely in that camp of versatile guitars. Plus, you have the added benefit of the piezo pickups, which are going to give you that acoustic guitar sound. Okay, so for those reasons alone, it's a very versatile guitar. The Parker Fly is pretty versatile because it also has the piezo pickups to get the acoustic sounds. And then you get the usually two humbuckers, which is great for rock, but they also sound good clean. I typically don't like humbuckers that are clean, but on the Parker Fly, it's one of the few instances that I really like that sound. Especially on my modded 95 Parker Fly, which has Seymour Duncan, JB, and Jazz pickups that replaced the original DiMarzio pickups, which were a very thin sound. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of the cons of getting a Fly or a Nitefly, number one, they're not made anymore. Okay, so if anything goes wrong, finding parts can be a challenge because, like, for instance, the spring that goes in the back of a Parker Fly, those are very expensive now and very hard to come by. I'm fortunate that I have one for 9s and I have one for 10s. Now, in the Parker Nitefly, you just have regular springs in the back, so that makes it a little bit easier. So if someone's going to work on your guitar, the Parker Fly is a little bit more complex and specific versus the Parker Nitefly. It doesn't have quite as much going on electronically. And so finding replacement spare parts might make it a little bit easier. Plus, it's a bolt-on neck versus the Parker Fly, which is a single piece that has been, like grafted together and then covered in that carbon fiber glass epoxy to make it one piece. So the Parker Nitefly, if you needed to take the neck off or replace it somehow with another Parker Nitefly neck, you can do that. Whereas like with the Parker Fly, when I bought my 95 Fly and someone had previously snapped the neck, yes, it's true, and then they repaired it kind of poorly. And so when I got it, I didn't have the option of replacing the neck. I just had to get it fixed as is. And fortunately, I have a really great luthier here in town that can essentially work on anything, even when Guitar Center and another luthier told me it couldn't be done, it couldn't be fixed. So make sure you have a really good guitar tech luthier guy that knows Parkers and is confident that they can work on them. Another con of getting a Parker guitar now is that they're very expensive. For instance, a Parker Fly goes for about $3,000 now. The really rare ones, people are asking like $10,000, $15,000. Good luck. But like a pretty standard Parker Fly is going to be about $3,000. And a standard Parker Nitefly, you're looking probably at about $1,500 right now in April or May of 2023. Now, when I bought my Parker Fly back in about 2011, I got it for $700, and the average price for them back then was about $1,200, $1,200 to $1,500. And for the Parker Nitefly, I bought a Parker Nitefly for $600 back in the day, and I stupidly sold it. And then I even got my 2014 Lime Gold Parker Fly. Biggest selling regret of all my guitars. I bought it for $2,200, brand new, Lime Gold, gorgeous guitar. And then eventually I just decided I don't need two Parker Flies. I mean, who does? But now they go for about $5,000, and I really regret selling that guitar. Not even because I want to sell it for that much money, but because I just wish I still had it, and it's impossible to find. So you're gonna have an easier time just getting like a Fender, right? Like you see behind me, like a Fender American Strat is gonna be pretty affordable, easy to repair, easy to work on, very simple. Same thing with Paul Reed Smiths. They're more common. They're easier to find. They're still in production. Parts are easy to find. So if you're going for practicality, I would steer away from the Parker guitars. If you just really like them though, like me, then you got to get one. And so for playing music like the Grateful Dead, I think the Parker Nitefly or the Parker Fly is going to be a great choice. Okay, so then Jesse sent me a follow-up question asking like, hey, I found this Parker Fly that I really like. It's a refined one from the refined era, after 2002. He thought it was 2001, but then reading into the serial number, it looks more like it was like a 2010. And so he asked my opinion about that. As some of you may know, I've been eviscerated for one of my most popular videos, which is called Why the Refined Parker Flies Are Better Than the Originals. And I make my case there. And even though it's a horrible video, I still hold true to my opinion that I do think the refined flies were better than the original flies. As someone who has owned both, that's my opinion. You can let me know in the comments below what an idiot I am, or you can go find that video yourself and see why I think the refined ones are better. But one of the reasons why I told him I thought it was going to be better practically to get a more modern Parker Fly was, number one, you're not going to have to replace the pickups. The pickups already sound really good in the refined ones. And then number two, there's just less age and less wear and tear on if you can get a Parker Fly from 2010 for $3,000 versus a 95 for $3,000, well, that 95, even if it's in pristine condition, some of those parts and those components are going to start to wear out sooner than in that 2010. So for that reason alone, I think it's smart to get a newer one. One of the problems is with that newer one, that which I mentioned in my old video, is in the bridge. I remember breaking off a part of the bridge from the whammy bar because they used a cheaper part there. And so you may be more prone to have to replace at least that. That was my experience with it. So for me, for practical purposes, if you're going a fly versus a Nitefly, I kind of prefer the Parker Fly, but I think it's great to have both if you can pull it off. But if you had to get just one, and you were playing a lot of shows, you were playing on the road, I'd probably go for the Parker Nitefly. I think that'd be the way to go. You're looking at about half the cost and a little bit easier to maintain and keep up with. All right, so Jesse ended up pulling the trigger on the Parker Fly that he found in New York, and I'm super excited for him. I hope he messages me and reaches out and lets me know what he thinks of it and gives me an update when it arrives. All right, so Jesse then sent me another message asking any tips for when he gets his Parker. So this is kind of getting into the meat. So, I'm hoping to save some of you from the mistakes that I made when I got a Parker Fly, because it is a very different breed of guitar. So here are the tips that I gave for Jesse when he gets his Parker Fly in the mail. Number one, yeah, you're definitely going to need to change the strings and make sure that the bridge is set to the down-only mode when changing the strings or doing any tuning. Okay, so I've made this mistake before where I had the Parker Fly in the floating position and tried to change the strings or tried to tune them. It just messes with the whole guitar. So you have to make sure that your switch on the back is flipped to the down-only mode. Very, very important there. Number two, I wrote that standard guitar polish should be fine on the body, but it will tarnish the bridge, so avoid getting it on there. Okay, so I was polishing my Parker Fly once, and then I noticed that the bridge itself was kind of dirty, and so I started to wipe that up, and it started to tarnish and come off because of whatever that material is that they use there. So you can kind of see it a little bit on my guitar. Not a super big deal, but just avoid guitar polish on the bridge, or really on anywhere other than just the body of the guitar. That also brings me to cleaning the fretboard. You do not need to use standard guitar cleaner or fretboard cleaner. You can just use a little bit of water, put it on a microfiber cloth, and just gently wipe the frets and then make sure to wick away any moisture. So that's a nice thing. Cleaning a Parker Fly neck is super easy. Same thing with the Parker Nitefly. Just a little bit of water on a microfiber cloth. All right, and then number three, make sure you have a fresh 9-volt. I couldn't figure out why my 2014 Fly sounded so bad when I first got it. Oh yeah, the battery. So I'll tell you guys a quick story. I got my lime gold Parker Fly in the mail years ago, and I was so excited. I had a show that night. It happened to show up that day. I was like, let's take it to the show. I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. I just played it, made sure it kind of worked. I did not have a 9-volt battery in it. So the pickups were working a little bit, but I believe, if I remember correctly, in the old ones, once the 9-volt goes, the whole thing just doesn't work. But in the new ones, if you don't have a 9-volt, the piezo pickups don't work, but the magnetic pickups will still work, but you'll just have a very weak signal, and it just doesn't sound very good. And I was like, why does this guitar sound so bad? And it ended up being the worst show I've ever played in my life. So many things went wrong. I can't even begin to tell you, but that was just one of the components. So make sure when you get your Parker in the mail, your Parker Fly or your Nitefly, that you replace the battery. All right, cool. And then finally, let's talk about import Parkers. Personally, I wouldn't waste my time with them. I've owned several of the import. I was a dealer of Parker guitars for a little while, and so I sold a lot of the like PDF 60s and PDF 70s, PDF 80s, I think is what they were called. And they're fine. They feel good, but they don't sound great. They're not very inspiring to play. And I think brand new, or I think on the used market, they go for probably like $600 to $800. Honestly, I would spend the extra money and at least get a Parker Nitefly. And again, I don't think the Parker Fly and the Parker Nitefly really have a difference in quality in the USA models. They sound and play equally as well. The Parker Nitefly has a little bit of a rounder neck, a little bit of a thicker neck, but that's not bad or good. It's just a difference of preference. But I think because the Parker Fly was just more expensive to manufacture, that's why it's so much more expensive. But you can't go wrong with either one. Unless you hate how they look, then you go wrong no matter which one you get. But if you like the Parker guitars, they're cool to own. They're a lot of fun to play. I'm still inspired every time I pick up my Parker Fly or a Parker Nitefly to this day. So those are my thoughts on what to look for when considering buying a USA Parker guitar. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is there anything I missed? Any other tips someone needs to know when they are looking for one of these guitars? All right, and if you guys dig guitar playing and Parker Flies, and you want to hear them in action, be sure and like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my music. Check out my latest album, Bourassa Park. It's got my Parker Fly all over the place. And I'll see you guys in the next times.